Black Ops 4 Zombies is a game that is near impossible to honestly critique for me. I won't deny that I harbor immense hate for this game, but I honestly don't know if all that hate is because of the game itself, or everything surrounding the game, like the missing promised features at launch, or the QA tester leak which painted Treyarch as a bunch of bastards, or Jason's cryptic bullshit and refusal to give any clue as to what the hell is going on with BO4, even as the community slowly kills itself from the inside, with some of those who enjoy it screaming in anger that everyone won't love the game that they love. Everyone who likes the game is like this, but the vocal minority knows how to scream very loud. So, I'm gonna try something different for talking about BO4 Zombies. I'm only gonna look at the game itself. Now the missing promised features are infuriating. I'm just looking at the game itself, and I will tell you what makes me think Black Ops 4 isn't as good as Black Ops 3. Also, I will only be talking about the game as if you got the Standard Edition. No Classified, no Dead of the Night, just the free maps you get on disc. Remember, not everyone was stupid enough to get the Season Pass edition instead of waiting to figure out whether or not DLC 2 is actually going to be another remaster or not. And lastly, yes, I do like BO4 to a degree. I do. But I don't like it as much as I would want to. But enough with the stipulations or explanations or all that stuff, let's just get into it. I suppose there's no better place to start off with than the graphics and HUD. While I could mention the menus as well, I'll just say that I think they kinda look bland in comparison to past menus, like BO2's, where you selected a map from a nuked Earth, or BO1's cool interrogation menu. BO4's lacks any real character, it feels like it was made to function, that's about it. The HUD is something a lot of people have complained about, and while I do think that it definitely works fine, it could easily have been shrunken down easily. Take the perks and change it back to how it was originally on the HUD, shrink down the points to... Actually, I'm just going to save us the time here and say that what I'm actually trying to say, go back to the HUD look of BO3, alter the aesthetics a bit, and add the elixirs without compromising the design. And there we go, it's better. Now, one thing I hear almost unanimously as a complaint with BO4 Zombies is that it looks worse than BO3. And I do kinda agree with that. While I do think the game looks good, I won't deny that I do prefer the way BO3 looks overall. But what does make the game look bad isn't the in-game stuff, it's the cutscenes. While Blood's cutscenes are fine, all the Chaos map cutscenes just don't feel right. The lighting looks off, the animation looks off, it all just looks off. I mean, in Voyager's intro, Scarlet's guns jiggle out of her hands. It feels incredibly amateurish for a AAA studio, which could be said about the launch, but we won't get into that. But now we have the maps and modes, and yes, there's a lot of content. Whether I enjoy all that content, I'll eventually get to that. First, the maps. I won't go into a gigantic amount of detail, just a very quick summary of my feelings. Voyager Despair is possibly the worst map when it comes to first impressions. Its layout is confusing, thanks to every area looking the exact same. Once you played it a couple more times, and come to finally understand the layout of the map, it becomes more fun. It's a hard map thanks to tight map design, and I do think it is the weakest map of BO4, even taking DLC into account. Maybe even my least favorite Blundell map, but it is still a decent map overall. 9 is a bloody fantastic map. While I have my problems with some of the core mechanics of BO4, 9 is a map I can play and not really give a shit about those problems because of how good it is. It has so many enemy types, but manages to not actually be a mess, unlike Exozombies. I wouldn't place the map as high as the Horizon Rock, but that could just be nostalgia speaking. And besides, it's just really fucking good either way. Blood of the Dead. Yikes. I know I said that I thought Voyage was the weakest Blundell map, and I do stand by that. I think in terms of gameplay, Blood is a more enjoyable map to play, and it looks fantastic. Out of all the maps in BO4, this is the one that looks the best, and I'll even be ballsy enough to say that if it were in BO3, it wouldn't look as good. But it is nowhere near as good as Mob. The Afterlife mechanic, gone. For the shield, the Acid Gat, weakened and replaced with the Magnum Gat. Dogs added in, and they're actually a bit annoying in BO4. And having the Easter egg not involve the iconic Mob Bridge in any way are just some of the things that annoy me. But the most annoying thing is almost anything to do with the narrative and lore. First, there's the multiple instances of unexplained conveniences. Like the convenient cryogenic Richtofen, holding a convenient magic stone that conveniently frees the spirits of Alcatraz and finally stops the Warden conveniently. or how convenient the cycle unexplainably breaks with literally no explanation on how one of the most important things for kicking off the final Lethal story, hopefully, happened. Then it decides to drag Mob down with it, when not only had it taken this wonderful, isolated story of 4 flawed characters' journey through unexplainable hells, and made it the most important thing in Zombies Next Element 115, they ruined the mystery of Mob by basically saying, Shadow Man did it. Sometimes it's better to leave the unexplained unexplained, and I find it tragic that they thought it was better to ruin Mob's mystery than explain why the hell the cycle was broken in the first place. Had to get that rant out of the way, but I think that Blood might actually be my most hated map in Zombies of all time, for every bit of narrative failures it has. So I just wanted to complain about it. It's still a fun map to play, yes, I'd call it a great map to play, but wow, what a mess of a narrative. The ending, however, that's good. Mostly would have liked the characters actually to interact with the dying Richtofen, but hey, it's the best we're ever gonna get, I suppose. Now on to the new mode, Rush. It's a fun spin on the classic Zombies mode, where you just aim to get the highest amount of points as possible. Weapons, perks, and pack-a-punch are free to get, but doors open after completing a zombie rush, where you must remain in a specific area as many zombies charge in to attack you. It's a more casual, simple mode, has a very pick-up-and-play aspect to it, and I know I don't describe it the best way there, making it sound like, oh, just the smallest tweak on zombies, but it's actually really fun if you're to play it. It's definitely a fun little spin. Tragically, it's the only new mode in BO4, but there are also difficulty modes. While they do have some artificial aspects with different difficulties like less or more health, enemies taking more or less damage, there are other differences, like zombies being less aggressive on casual and significantly more unrealistic. I'd say that the difficulties are done very well, and playing unrealistic gave me the same kind of panicked feeling a high-round player had at launch, except, you know, intentional. But now we move on to the main reason I have a problem with BO4, the many changes it's made. While there are good small changes like max ammo refilling everything and Carpenter repairing your shield, giving it more purpose than being a renamed Blood Money, I have a lot more problems with some of the bigger changes. I will never know why I liked the perk system initially. It can basically be summed up as Treyarch being unable to make a perk that matched the power of Jug, Speed, or Tap, and deciding to just move them so they can have worse perks in general. I only care about 2 perks, Bandolier and Quick Revive. The rest I just set up as secret sauce because I really don't care for the new perks. I honestly only get the perks because I happen to be standing next to a statue, or perk machine. In World of War to BO3, I would always get Jug, Speed Cola, and Double Tap because of how much of an upgrade they gave. Getting any of those 3 perks in the early rounds felt incredible. And the only perk Treyarch was able to match the usefulness, in my opinion, was Widow's Wine. Plus, they were also a little gold to get in whenever you played a Zombies map. And besides, once Quick Revive was used up in solo, that's the point where I had the ability to decide what perk do I want to take instead. Even if Jug, Speed, and Tap were in the game, I wouldn't have the ability to make the mid-game decision of what 4th perk I want, because I have to pick a perk to fill that 4th slot that I'm stuck with for the entire game. Sure, Secret Sauce allows me to switch perks, but that will just result in me buying the perk multiple times if I don't get what I want, rather than just thinking, okay, this time I'm gonna get this perk, walk over, get the perk, job done. And to top it all off, all the perk machines are made to be generic and unique perk jingles are gone. It removes some of the character from Zombies, no iconic perk machines return, no new jingles, just bland generic machines. Even IW had jingles. For every single perk, there was a unique jingle. And to see Treyarch take away something as iconic as Jug from Zombies is just something I can't like. Then there are the elixirs, which are worse consumables than gobblegums, or maybe better if you're a whale buying thousands of dollars or euros or pounds or whatever currency you use on elixir spins. Free elixirs are a little worse than free gobblegums. Most are, at least to me, weaker than the gobblegums, and all the ones that I would use in BO3 had been made into paid elixirs like In Plain Sight or Alchemical Antithesis. Or they've been made worse, like Anywhere But Here. Even worse, free elixirs work on what feels like a 20-minute cooldown period, which was originally 5 minutes before they ended up patching it, and paid elixirs have an incredibly fast cooldown. And to get even worse, the paid elixirs are just pretty much pay to win. They may be weaker than the best paid gobblegums in BO3, but they are still pay to win. There aren't even any fun paid gobblegums like Killing Time. They're just better than the free elixirs, and a final nail in the coffin, getting the paid elixirs for free is incredibly tedious, and paying for these paid elixirs is incredibly costly. It's a nice little mixture of fucking you. And I almost forgot about the talismans, which provide a buff from the start of the game. Basically, even if it's the smallest of statistical advantages, a guy with a talisman is better than a guy without it. And a talisman are only guaranteed to drop in an elixir spin at the highest tier, which costs 500 COD points or 5 euros, dollars, or pounds, or whatever you use. Honestly, how greedy the game is with these microtransactions is a huge turn-off for me. I feel like I paid for the privilege of spending more money, for significantly more minuscule rewards. It's the fact that you can spend 30 euros or dollars or whatever you use for 2 Witcher 3 DLCs, for multiple hours of gameplay, or the same amount for Zombie Chronicles, providing again many hours of gameplay in what I still feel is the best zombies mode purely from game feel, or better still 20 euros or whatever you use for Yakuza 0 on PC. Knowing that I have those options available to me, that pisses me off. Because for the same amount, I can get a couple shitty talismans and elixirs that go away the instant I use them. And I end up sitting there experiencing worse buyer's remorse than when I bought BO4. Got off into a little rant there, but if I'm keeping myself from talking about the shit show of events surrounding BO4, if I can find something that seems scummy enough in the game, well, I'm gonna latch onto it like a head of Activision latches to your wallet. Next, there's the creator class. And this is something that really bothers me. There are so many things to decide before going into the game that I feel it removes some of the pick-up-and-play aspect of zombies. Back in the days of World of War to BO2, all you did was decide what map you wanted to play, and that's it. BO3 had some things to mess about with, but it wasn't a lot. Just the weapon kits and gobblegums, which you wouldn't need to decide on a per-game basis. In BO4, I have to decide my starter guns, special weapons, equipment, customize my weapons, decide my perks, decide which will have the modifier, decide whether I'll use a talisman for more pay-to-win power, decide the attachments I want for the weapon, decide whether I'll use an operator mod instead of another attachment, decide my elixirs, decide my map, decide the difficulty, then exit the game if I didn't get the character I want, because programming a functioning character select button is beyond Treyarch's capabilities, then I'm ready to play. Pick up and play is something that doesn't exist in BO4 for me. I can understand if you enjoy the creator class system, but for me it turns the game into something like Extinction or World War II, where I don't play the mode much, but when I do enjoy it a lot. Except of the 3, I would place BO4 below both of them. I wouldn't say it's all bad, the weapon kits are much improved for BO3, and each attachment changes something on how the gun looks, so that's good too, but I feel all the other things to consider are a bit too much. I'm not saying new difficulties and modes shouldn't exist, but mainly that the creator class is something I would have much preferred being implemented in the maps themselves. Get equipment off the walls or the box. Same thing with special weapons being gameable in the box. No 4 perk per map limit, and already BO4 Zombies is more enjoyable for me, and both the variety and pick up and play aspect are better retained. Now there's 2 more mechanics in BO4 that I am not the biggest fan of. The first is special weapons. While I do like the special weapon mechanic of getting better as you use them, I really don't like getting the weapon instantly from the moment I start the game. Sure, I have to charge it, but after killing a few zombies I already have a get out of jail free card after putting barely any effort into it. If there had been a mechanic where you had to work to complete a quest to get the weapon on the difficulty scale from getting it the special weapon in Horizon to getting the special weapon in Zetsubo no Shima, or maybe, I don't know, just have the weapons in the box with a low spawn rate, I would have much preferred it. I know I said I loved Revelations for how broken it was, but that's because you had to at least work to reach a point of broken power. Even though I dislike Buried, you had to work a little bit to reach a point where the map is easy. Here, you're just given this powerful weapon with no real effort put in, and I honestly don't even use it because of that. And unfortunately, it's not like I can just ignore it. For example, if I think, oh, I don't want to play Revelations because of how easy it is, I'm gonna go for a challenge. No, I'm stuck with that special weapon every single game. I'm not saying it makes the game instantly easy, because in the high rounds it's still difficult, but I don't like getting it so early on the rounds where I'm able to just easily set up so quickly with it. I'm not saying it needs to have the effort of getting the KT4 fully upgraded, just having the box for a very low drop chance, or maybe have a quest on the, like I said, the scale of Horizon or Zetsubo. That's literally all I would need for it to be more enjoyable. As for the second and final mechanic that annoys me, there's the Pack-a-Punch. After thinking that removing double tap was a good idea, instead of just making all the weapons stronger after a single Pack-a-Punch, you need to spend 15,000 points minimum to be able to fully upgrade your weapon. While I wouldn't say it's as bad as Exo-Zombies, that doesn't make it good. All they did was make the perk that cost 2,000 points for all guns, cost 18,000 more for 2 guns. God forbid you decide to use Mule Kick. It's not the worst mistake BO4 makes, launching in the state that it did seems about right, but still something that could have been done significantly better. And everything I've mentioned is why the main thing defenders of BO4 use to say it's an actual fantastic game falls completely flat for me. It doesn't matter if it had 5, 10, or 100 maps, I think the main core of gameplay of BO4 is just flawed and a degradation of the quality of BO3, where innovation was done for innovation's sake, rather than because it needed innovation. BO3 is my favorite zombies mode because it made additions and perfections to the core of zombies because it wasn't broke, so all they had to do was polish it. They polished it a bit more in BO4, but they also decided that if it ain't broke, fix it anyway. The best way I can sum up my feelings of BO4 is that it doesn't have the same spark that BO3 had, or even IW Zombies, which I regret ranking as low as I did in that ranking video. With World War II, I wind up coming to love it at the end of the season, but I somehow don't see myself coming to that conclusion with BO4. Now, that is my feelings on BO4, but I want to talk about something else, why people aren't as enthusiastic about making content on it. People are noticing that the zombies community is almost seeming deader than ever despite BO4 coming out. DLC 1 came out not even a month ago, yes, the first time a Treyarch DLC is released to very little fanfare. Admittedly, because Treyarch decided the radio silence would be a good idea while the community slowly killed itself, resulting in literally the only information we have gotten about coming updates and maps is from leaked info. But it does show how the community has fallen, and I think I know why. Well, actually I'd also blame Treyarch, because I'm willing to say if they had been more vocal to the community, it wouldn't have been as much of a mess as it is now, but we'll never know if that's the case. Anyways, if a game nowadays aims to have any long-term sustainability, it needs to have some form of player retention. Let's take a look at Killing Floor 2 for a quick second. It has daily objectives like zombies' daily callings, but it also has a weekly challenge where you can fight enemies that either bubble up as you shoot them, or you can only die by being shot in the head, or maybe the challenge will cause certain special enemies to spawn more numerously. It's basically a unique weekly challenge that happens every week, obviously, and you have to complete it and you'll be able to gain rewards. Might be a skin, might be something else, but hey, it's something to do that keeps people playing. It may not seem like much, but it keeps people playing. All Zombies has right now is daily challenges, with rewards barely worth the effort, and not even enough currency to get a single low-tier spin of the Elixir loot box. There's an incredible mutations mode that could be used to create new weekly challenges with worthwhile rewards, no sodding face paints, but zombie-exclusive camos or variants, but since it doesn't have that, it could have relied on those constant free updates, new perks, new modes, new guns, something, anything. And all that has been added for free is Speed Cola once you get all the perks. It feels like it was a month or two ago. To mention the game everyone hates because it's popular, Fortnite is successful because it gets constant updates and changes, bringing new weapons, outfits, emotes, events, and time-limited modes. And to mention that player retention thing again, the Battle Pass keeps people playing constantly thanks to a constant string of unlockables. And Fortnite isn't even the only game with good constant updates and player retention features. Destiny 2, PUBG, even Black Ops 4 multiplayer knows how to keep good player retention. So it's no wonder why people aren't playing zombies. They could play the same map again for the 50th time, or they could go out and try that new weekly strike in Destiny, or play more Fortnite to get the Battle Pass up some tiers, or just do anything else. BO4 fails at stealing you from playing other games. If BO4 Zombies is to have any community that lasts more than a month after the game comes out, it needs to have some player retention. And that's all I have to say about BO4 Zombies. I think it's weaker than BO3, BO1, and even World War II thanks to worse core mechanics. And the community is dying because factions would be too much content at launch. Thanks, Blundell. If you like BO4 enough that you play it constantly, good for you. Glad you can enjoy what I couldn't. Just, let's all respect others' opinions, yeah? I have a feeling the reason people aren't playing BO for Zombies isn't because they can't realize that there's a lot of content to play. So keep that in mind, yeah? So, if I were to sum up my feelings regarding BO for Zombies very quickly, I'll say this. I'd rather play BO3 because of how I think it plays so much better than BO4, World War II because its better mechanics keep player attention than BO4, and once the years have gone past, I won't have the same nostalgic urge to go back and play BO4 like I do with World at War, BO1 and BO2, because when I think of BO4, all I'll be thinking is, that was a complete shit show, wasn't it?